Hi guys, Ashley here. Today I'm bringing you the phenomenal Folke Engholm, and we're going to talk about KOLs, KOCs, and private pools in China. Folke is running one of the biggest KOL or micro KOL companies in China called Viral Access. Folke, phenomenal to have you on the show.
Thank you, Ashley. Good to be here.
How is everything in Shenzhen with coronavirus? Right now we are moving towards the end of April. Is it totally 100% back to normal?
The never-ending question. Yeah, to be honest, now it's pretty back to normal. And I think it's been like this for the last month, I would say. So I really can feel the optimism in the air. But of course, everybody's sort of looking into China now and sort of trying to figure out what's going on. But no, to be honest, I feel like, yeah, it's really, almost back to normal. The thing that's not normal, though, is like people are still wearing masks. So I think there's a lot of more like a social pressure to people are looking into each other and, making sure that, keep a little bit of a distance. People are making sure, people are wearing masks. So that I would say would be the difference between now and before Corona.
So social distancing and masks are definitely here to stay for the whole year, perhaps. What's happening in your industry? You're working with a lot of small bloggers, micro bloggers, as we call them, with KOCs. How have they handled this crisis? Has it hit them hard?
Yeah, I think, of course, a lot of, European and American brands as well as Chinese brands, I think they have been reacting in the same ways that we have seen, the countries in Europe and the US has been reacting. It's a lot of like panic mode. It's not so much a big thought and a strategy behind the actions. So I think most of them, just put pause. They don't know really why. It's just like, we don't know what to do. So just put everything on hold. So obviously that is hurting, not only, traditional communication channels as well as, influencers. What we do see has happened on the influencer side is the previous trend of live streaming has continued to evolve. So I think a lot of, talents out there, instead of waiting for companies like us or brands to wake up, they are taking, the chance and doing it themselves now and are commercializing and activating their followers. That sort of needs to happen because, a lot of people are just staying home. They are longing to, to go back to what was normal before. They're waiting to consume again. And if the brands are not doing that, the influencers themselves are taking control of that commerce part. So that's what's happening a little bit on our side, what we're seeing.
And that's beautiful. I've just recently received the numbers saying that in the first quarter of this year, Alibaba live stream has grown 110%. So we have 100 more bloggers essentially live streaming on this platform, and the traffic has also increased hugely. Both Alibaba and JD and Pinduoduo, they are giving a lot of traffic to live streamers, free traffic, just free access, because again they want to make sure that this specific thing works. When we talk about bloggers in general, what's your take for this year? Previously, Chinese bloggers were very lucrative. They were very exciting to the rest of the world because they could sell, right? They could actually promote and they could sell and through live stream or whatever. So there, even if it's not a positive ROI, but there is a potential for actual sales during the promotion. So what's going to happen this year in your view? Is 2020 going to be a year of awareness? Is it going to be a year of connection? Or is it at any point going to potentially go back to some sales and transactions when it comes to bloggers as a channel?
That's a very good question. And I think there's different answer depending on who the client is. I think from the Chinese perspective, they have been very ROI focused because their history in the branding world, I could say, is not as evolved as, companies coming from the West. We have been, brainwashed with branding since we were, in middle school. As for Chinese, they have been, focusing on the product and killing the price. So they haven't had the same understanding. So I think we will sort of meet in the middle where the Chinese, now they start realizing and understanding, you know what, we're going to need a brand that supports, you know, paying a premium for this product instead of just competing with lowering the price. And I think from the Western perspective, I think maybe they have had, or they have had the luxury, I would say, the ability to pay a lot for branding without having any connection with maybe results. So I think the Western brands will move into a space where we will call today, you know, performance marketing. So I think instead of, you know, I'm not going to say waste or throw money around, but that's almost the pre-corona mentality from a lot of big brands. And I think that will stop. So I think now we will be able to, all the brands have to sort of really go through the way their old marketing portfolios looked like, and like, are these banners really performing how much I'm paying for them, or is this programmatic tool really as efficient as my agency is telling me? So instead of just talking, you know, exposure and CPM, I think we will move one step closer to conversion and have to talk about, you know, cost per engagement instead, or cost per an acquisition or something similar. So it's a little bit an uncomfortable discussion for a lot of companies, because it's easier to sell exposure than to sell a result. But I think that's the space that we're moving towards.
That's perfect. And a good friend of mine with whom I was speaking about bloggers just a couple of days ago told me that he feels personally that the only people or the only party screwed in this whole blogger crusade in China are actually brands. So the platform is making money, the blogger himself is making money, the MCN, the blogger management company, is making money, but the brand is essentially never having a positive ROI, because through all these live streams, etc., you are essentially investing a lot of money, and even if you sell something, it's never covering your cost. So his I think line of thought was very interesting. He was saying that in order for brand to actually make their money back and have positive ROI, you need to have continuous engagement, meaning this one customer needs to repurchase again and again and again. And that is why private pools are so popular and so powerful right now in China, because this cost to reach a customer is extremely high, be it advertising or blogger. What do you think on that?
No, I mean, like you're saying, I mean, we are spammed with too many messages. And also we're being spammed by companies that are not, because going back to what I said before, they are spending a lot of money to spam people. And we all know that ads that are not really tailored towards me annoys me. So of course, that noise level, you don't want to be part of that noise level. So that's why, you know, we are moving towards smaller and smaller groups of people or communication channels that are, or have the ability to communicate in a way that resonates with you as a consumer. So I think definitely, and that's why we're seeing a trend of, you know, closed traffic. We're seeing a trend where KOCs and micro KOLs play a more vital role, because the big word here is trust. You know, we don't trust ads in its classical format. We don't trust maybe old school celebrities, you know, Nicole Kidman or George Clooney, when you're talking about coffee or an Omega watch. We don't believe that anymore. For us, it's just, you know, how much did the brand pay that celebrity to do that? You know, so I think it will be more fragmented now, and I think it's going to be more complex than ever, because instead of just relying on one big tool to sort of make it happen for you, you unfortunately have to use a big mix of communication tools to make your brand fly now.
And how do you define different levels of bloggers in China? Because I personally have my, let's say, division point and my segments. I've got like bloggers that actually work for their content. I have, let's say, celebrities, right, that are just really, really big people. I have we media that are, let's say, CT accounts or accounts that aggregate information and just do promotions, just like, let's say, Time Out magazine for a specific city, and then you essentially pay them for features. We've got Wang Hong that essentially portray a certain lifestyle but do not really bring value to their community, etc., etc. How do you segment them? Because there's a lot of confusion when it comes to terms: blogger, Wang Hong, KOL, KOC. What is a micro influencer? What is a bigger influencer? What is in your world, this structure?
No, but I think you explained it very well, Ashley, how you have to utilize different tools and connecting those tools to specific KPIs. And I think that has been one of the big misunderstandings when working with influencer marketing, because people think about KOL marketing, they don't see that it can be used for different purposes. But so I think, like you're saying here, first we must understand that it is a very, very multifaceted tool, and it should be used for different purposes. So exactly like you're saying, for us, it's sort of like a pyramid, and you're having the big ones at the top, and they are great at giving that, extra glitter on top, which you're paying a premium for because it's a famous KOL. And that is not what the micro KOLs are giving you. However, the bottom to up approach, meaning the grassroots approach that the KOCs and the micro KOLs are giving you, is heavy impact, relatively speaking, because they have the big trust factor, they have the engage factor, and they have the dialogue factor. So instead of just having that old school one way of communicating, these ways of working definitely have a better way to engage emotionally, which is also a key factor here, engaging emotionally with the target audience, because we all know, decisions, purchasing decisions are based on emotions, have always been and will always be. So as long as we don't connect with our target audience on that level, you're not going to have a good ROI. So our process, how we put that thing together, and our philosophy, it's what you're pointing out. It's a portfolio. It's a portfolio management, mix that we're putting together. So exactly like you're saying, some we're using strictly for conversions, some influencers are used strictly for awareness, some are used strictly for visual content that they can be used to be plugged in future campaigns, etc. So that's the mix. So depending on where the brand stands in terms of awareness and matureness on the product line, we have to tailor a specific portfolio of influencers resonating well where your brand is now in China.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about this concept of micro KOLs and KOCs, there's also a lot of confusion there.
Correct.
Some people think that a micro KOL is just a very, very small blogger on the way to become a blogger. And then KOC is actually somebody that you do not pay, who just loves your product. You need to find them or you need to build them in-house, and he becomes your key opinion consumer. You just send them gifts, etc., etc. So there are, again, different people that are calling different types of promoters, let's call them that, different ways. So what's your definition of KOC and your definition of micro KOL?
Yeah, it's a big difference between the two. And first of all, the evolution of micro KOLs has also historically been like in the people's mindset. It has been a smaller influencer who is moving up the scale in becoming something very big. However, we are also seeing a big trend now that the micro KOLs, they don't always have the ambition to go big. They are very happy with being, famous in their small circle of followers. So whether it be, mukbang when they are the biggest in eating noodles, or it can be in any other niche segment. So that is what we're seeing. So and that's what we will continue to see. I think a more fragmented categorization in terms of micro KOLs where they are happy where they are. So and they have no connection really to a specific brand, and they are more happy with being true to themselves and their style and their followers. So that's the micro KOLs. The KOCs, that's a different story. And that's for us, it's a little bit of a data approach. But the big difference, it's in the definition in itself. It's the key opinion consumer. So that would mean that to be able to activate a KOC for a specific campaign, that person would have to express a positive sentiment to that exact product or brand or that category of a brand that we're doing the promotion with. So that would be probably the most authentic and trustworthy voice for a brand. And these people can be like you and me. If you love going to Le Pain Quotidien, your voice will be a very strong voice because that's where you go and eat lunch, right? And that would be us finding 500 people that love Le Pain Quotidien as much as you do. We will put you in a campaign, and that will be a hell of a good campaign because all of you talk from your hearts. So that's the big difference.
And the question here is, do you still pay your KOCs, or do they do it just because they truly love your brand?
I think that's also changing. I think now we will probably start paying them also more now because, again, relatively speaking, they are very impactful and they are, relatively speaking, outperforming even, micro KOLs. Because they really actually love having lunch there. So they are very, convincing when they say, let's go having lunch there because it's the best play in Wanchai. So that's why I think for the same reason where we didn't have to pay micro KOLs 5 years ago, now it's common sense that we pay them for the good jobs that they're doing. I think we will move into a space where their impact will be monetized from their perspective in one way or another, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And while we are on the topic of money, are the KOL budgets about to explode in 2020, or are they about to go down for the same result, for the same number of bloggers? What shall brands do and how much they shall really budget in order to get some impactful noise, voice? And I understand that brands are different, but just a starter kit, or take a brand or an industry for an example, because a lot of people must be wondering. And a lot of people also are disillusioned when they hear how much Chinese bloggers actually charge compared to what happens, let's say, in the US or in Europe, right? They feel that this is totally out of their expectations. So we want to just provide that baseline of how much it actually costs and what do we expect in 2020.
Yeah, I think we have seen a big shift now in two ways. People are reallocating their budgets and putting more effort on China, having US being semi-lockdown. So people are changing now swiftly towards China. And as you know, here social commerce and social media marketing or an influencer marketing, it's not just a fussy, cute thing. It's an essential equation. It's the heart and engine in any commerce, really, in China. So putting these two factors together, yes, we will have to see people putting more money on influencer marketing, because like I said in the beginning, the luxury where we spend money without being able to trace any kind of impact, I think those days are sort of gone. And having the luxury of being a tool where we can measure a lot of things, it's also, like I said, a versatile tool because we're hitting many different verticals. Like you talked about awareness, we're talking about sentiment, we're talking about intent to buy, we're talking about the loyalty aspect of the brand, and we're talking about strictly conversions. So we are able to hit all of those critical KPIs using influencer marketing. So that's why it's sort of like a must, and it will be common sense in the near future to sort of raise the stakes in social communication as a whole, e-commerce as a whole. But like it's an ecosystem altogether that plays this violin together. So it's not only KOL and the KOL space that will get more budgets. It's the whole social communication space that will grow in 2020 and 2021.
If I want to employ 500 KOCs, as you said, for Le Pain Quotidien, or for any other industry, how much could it cost me? I want to employ the little army of KOCs to help me with my ongoing campaign. What is the bracket that people can budget for?
Yeah, I mean, the metrics that people are used to, we talk about a lot about, the price to reach one eyeball, which could also be defined as the CPM, the cost per mil. And I would say, like, in general terms, you see CPMs that vary from, 25 to sort of 45 would be the normal CPMs. But in the world of, micro KOLs and KOCs, you can get CPMs even below 10. So it's one third,
RMB, right? Not US dollars.
Yeah, US dollars. So that's sort of like the 1/3 of what you would pay for normal communication channels. So that's what I'm saying. So you get a lot for your money in both terms of CPM, but also in terms of the impact. So that there you can do the maths yourself, depending on how much you want to do. But keep in mind, you're entering the world's largest e-commerce market, the $1.5 trillion market. So the budgets that you were used to having back in Europe or in the States, you could probably, double, triple, or double those budgets in order to have a sort of like an indication. But like you're saying, we're seeing many times that they're coming in from small countries like Sweden, Spain, or whatever, and they think they can have a similar budget to enter China as they had in entering Belgium. And I don't really see the logic. I don't see the logic in that, but that's what's happening many times.
Very interesting. Because you in Viral Access have a tool, as you said, that manages and tracks a lot of things and a lot of data after KOC and micro KOL campaigns. What do you think is the magic power that fuels the growth of the brand? What is the most important? As you said, is it awareness? Is it readiness to buy? Is it loyalty? Is it truly just a sale? So what shall brands in general pay more attention to? Shall they be trying to sell more with bloggers? Shall they be trying to just reach people through awareness? What is that magical element in ingredient?
And I mean, I think, again, it depends on where the brand is in terms of all of these things. And we have to look careful at each brand to see where they are. But we're working with a lot of global brands, and their awareness might be 100%. So I would say, actually, the sentiment part, what are people associating when they hear your brand? If they feel nothing when I hear Le Pain Quotidien, it's not good, even though if I know it, but it doesn't do anything for me. So it's super important that the sentiment is also good. But of course, we have the, top of mind. Top of mind is also good, because we know our brain can only process as so many brands. So when I'm thinking about the lunch, I know my brain only can have 3 alternatives, something like this. So then, we automatically filter out the brands that are not in the top of mind. And that's why we need what we call triggers. And the triggers are super important also to remind our brains, like, hey, remember, you also have the pawn. It's just 10 meters from Le Pain Quotidien. Why didn't I think of that? Because you fall into your old patterns. So I think, again, it's super important that we talk about portfolios, that each portfolio consists of many different KOCs and KOLs and micro KOLs that all have different tasks that they should fulfill. But again, like I said, probably I would say sentiment would be the biggest one. But if nobody knows who you are, there's no need to talk about the sentiment, because you don't even have the awareness. So again, it would be from case by case.
Mm-hmm. A lot of brands right now are building or running micro KOL campaigns specifically to build their private pools, specifically to create a personalized group of people that they can reach without paying a platform or without paying a blogger or without paying for advertising, right? What do you think about private pools?
No, I think it's a great way to really leverage your own, brand, and have an intimate dialogue directly with your end consumers. So I am all for that type of approach, and we enhance it, and we many times also has it. We have it as a part of our marketing strategy. And same as we know, we grow follower bases or fan bases for specific social media accounts. We also see, building up these private pools of people genuinely, liking the brand and generally want to engaging with the brand even after they stop working with us. That's the long-term value that we are able to give to the brand. So I'm all for it. It's definitely a way to go, because that's, like I said before, that's an essential part for you as a brand to get intimate with your consumers, really getting to know who they are and what they like.
And beyond just market research and intimacy, that might also be one of the best ways for you to actually get this repeat business. And only after you have a few repeat businesses with a specific client, you are essentially getting your money back, and you are probably also able to reinvest that marketing dollars into the China market. Awesome. Folke, thank you so much for spending this time with us. It was phenomenal. We've learned a lot about the
Thank you.
KOCs and KOLs and micro KOLs and influencers. Guys, connect with Folke on LinkedIn and other social media platforms to learn more how their company is assisting brands to run large-scale campaigns with micro influencers in mainland China. And stay tuned for more China experts to talk about the new coronavirus realities in China.